Hello, welcome to this video on indices again. This time we're going to be looking at fractional indices. So there's two that you need to be aware of straight away. If I have the square root of a, that is a to the power of a half. If I was to have the cube root of a, that would be a to the power of a third. Two really useful ones. So if I was to have the eighth root of a, that would be to the power of 1 over 8. Okay, this can go negative as well as fractional, so I could have 1 over the root of a, so we know that is the same as a to the power of a half on the bottom. Now when we did negative ones, we did negatives, turned it from a fraction into a negative, and negatives into fractions. So this would actually become a to the power of negative a half. Okay. Now they do get more complicated when we have not 1 as the numerator, which is what we're going to go on to next. So here we've got one with a fractional indice and it is 2 over 3. So it's clearly not 1 over. So what this is going to do is this is going to tell you what to root it by. So cube root it, square root it, fourth root it. And this numerator is going to tell you what to do with it as an indice. So if we look at this question here is telling me to do the cube root of 64. It is then telling me to square that answer. Okay, so I've got two separate sections, the denominator section in red and the numerator section in purple. So the cube root of 64 is 4, and that needs to be squared, which means that the answer to this is actually 16. Okay, 64 to the power of 2 over 3 evaluated becomes 16. You're likely to only get asked to evaluate things like this. Okay, so let's take another one. Let's do 27 to the power of 2/3. Okay, doesn't matter, it's the same numbers. So again, that is telling you what to do with the indices, and this is telling you what to do with the roots. So this one here is telling me to cube root 27, and then it is telling you to square it. So the cube root of 27 is 3, and that needs to be squared, which means that evaluated my answer is going to be 9. Right, now they do get even more complicated. This is the top level of fractions now. Okay, so now we're heading into the top flight of indices with fractions. So this is the question I'm showing you. 1 over 36 to the power of negative a half. Now we're going to take this in 2 steps. We're going to do 1 over 36 to the power of a half, and then we're going to focus on the negative. So when we just did fractions, we said the power of a half was to square root. So this is telling me to do the square root of 1, the square root of 36, and that is all to the power of negative 1. So I've dealt with the half first, which I could simplify down slightly. That is 1 over 6. Okay, we should all be able to square root numbers by now. Now I'm going to worry about the negative 1. So what that is going to do is actually going to give you the reciprocal of 1 over 6, which is 6 over 1, or just 6. So it looks really complicated, but if you break it down into 2 or 3 separate sections, then it becomes a lot easier. I'll do one more with you. Okay, so here you can see it's not just going to be a square root, it's 3 over 2. So if you think back to what we were just doing. So this one, again, we're going to deal with the 3 over 2, then we'll deal with the negative. So all of this is going to be to the power of minus 1. So this is telling me to square root 1 and then cube it. And then this one is telling me to square root 36 and then cube it. Okay, because of that 3 on the top. So if I simplify that down, that is 1 over we've got 6 cubed here, which is 216. And again, because it's -1 just here, that's actually going to flip the fraction upside down, give us our reciprocal. So we're going to get 216 over 1, which is just 216. Like I said, this is the top flight. Okay, so don't panic if you don't 100% understand this. You will be redoing this again in year 11.